I think they said
Oh, really? They
7,
could
8
determine
foot tall.
that?
Yeah, they were able to determine from the pitch of the voice.
Humans couldn't do it, right? Like humans could not make that noise.
Yeah, humans couldn't do it, and they were able to determine that the recordings were not manipulated in any way. They didn't like record and copy over the top of anything else.
These are like simple hunter dudes who are just out in the woods.
Yeah,
like, they're not pranksters. Anyways.
Yeah, and they only started recording because last time they were there, it happened to them as well, and they decided to bring out some recording equipment because obviously no one believed them the first time they told people.
Who would believe that?
Has anything else happened in the Sierras?
Yes.
Besides this, like what?
Yes, getting back to the multiple things going on. It was sounds. They saw lights. There was
same people or different
people.
Mm-hmm.
Saw like lights floating through the forest, like UFO type experiences, hearing voices, hearing the Bigfoot. There was like multiple things happening, which gets back to the portal thing of like when a portal's opened. Two things are happening. Either a portal is opened and then something comes through, or like imagine like a UFO opens a portal and then it can fly through. But when it does that, there's a bunch of creatures or other dimensions that like kind of sense that and like run through. And maybe they're just as confused as we are. Maybe like when a were-dog or a werewolf or a Bigfoot like comes through the portal. Yeah, Dogman. Sorry, thank you. I should know that. Dogman comes through. Maybe they're just as confused as we are. Maybe we're like, holy shit, it's a Dogman, and then they're like, what the fuck is that thing over there?
Some
like
hairless ape.
Holy shit, that hairless ape. Or maybe they're waiting for the moment, like we were saying. Like maybe they're waiting for this moment, and they come through, and they can play in dimensions different. They can play in the membrane between parallel universes different than we can. We can't access that, but maybe they can.
It definitely seems like that. There's that story in. I don't know if you've read the book, Hunt for the Skinwalker, on the Skinwalker
I'm
Ranch.
halfway through it. It's awesome.
It's great, yeah.
Wait, let me get... Wait, hold on. Before you say that, let me get the copy information. Lost on Skinwalker Ranch.
Oh, no, this is a different one.
Oh, really?
So this is a different one again, yeah. Okay. So it was... George Knapp was actually the author of this book back in the day.
Oh, the Knapp.
George Knapp and...
Perfect voice for radio.
Someone else, yeah. But, so he did an investigation with NIDS when Bigelow bought the ranch. And anyway, there was a story of, I think they were looking through night vision goggles and they saw a light open up in the sky, something crawl through basically a window that they saw, like a dark figure crawl through, and then the light kind of closed, the window kind of closed behind it. And so I fully believe either they have the technology or the ability to kind of open a gap in the veil and kind of pass through, or either maybe it just happens naturally too, and maybe it's a combination.
Or maybe
of
the
two.
conditions are perfect on Earth, though. I think how many stories do you hear of Bigfoot? Where does Bigfoot ever come out and he's like trying to eat people or come out to people or abduct people? No, it's more like people are chasing Bigfoot. Which, wouldn't that mean that if he is coming through a portal, they're probably, just you said, maybe just as afraid of seeing humans or avoiding it as much as possible?
I mean, there's a bunch of stories.
Is that a shaved Bigfoot over there? What is that thing over there? Yeah. What are they thinking?
Okay, while you two were talking. So the stone in
Dr.
Sedona is red sandstone.
Okay.
So that's not granite.
It is not granite.
But
and that is made up of iron oxidized into hematite crystals. So basically...
So Stonehenge is also sandstone.
So in the Sierras, there is also sandstone. Basically made up of crystals. Which, as you know...
So is granite, actually.
A frequency.
Right? Did I just make that up?
What was
granite sort of a...
Granite also has... there's also granite, but the Sierras are big, right? So there's Yosemite, which is mostly granite. And there's a lot of weird stuff that happens there, too. But they all have different properties of crystals.
Whoa, that's interesting. That's like a connection I don't think anyone's ever made before.
Yeah. Yeah.
So what are you saying
over
there?
No, just saying Yosemite, according to Politis, is the largest amount of missing people.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, but I mean, it's a big area, but still.
It's not just granite we should be looking
at. It's a
hotspot. Sandstone.
Right, which I never would have connected those two things.
Yeah, maybe it's the...
Mostly because I'm not a geologist and I don't wonder what red sandstone is made out of.
Yeah, I just thinking I shouldn't start talking about the composition of stones because I have zero idea and people are going to be very upset. Geologists back. Do we have geologists listening? I don't know.
We're just slinging theories and having a good time.
We're at the Cosmic Cantina.
Yeah, we're not like, this is not, no one should take this as science at all.
Yeah, look, we're sitting in a bar in the middle of nowhere,
shit, dude.
and we don't know what we're talking about.
You just say what you want, man. The facts come later.
So that's really interesting. Sorry, I'm super obsessed with the rocks.
Jump on in, yeah.
I got super into it. So Yosemite is mostly made up of granite and quartz monzonite. Quartz monzonite.
Okay.
And there's a reason why the pyramids are made out of mostly granite. I mean, there is limestone, there is some sandstone, but there is a lot of granite, especially in the Great Pyramid. Ooh. So that says, I mean, there's definitely, a lot of people think, people that study this stuff, that the Great Pyramid was some kind of portal. That was the point of the sarcophagus. That it wasn't that somebody was buried there. It was that somebody was transported from there.
A stargate of sorts.
Yeah.
That's actually really interesting. Granite.
Do you know what time all these missing people went missing? Is it
mostly
between those 11 to 3 in the morning type situation?
No, I think it's more afternoons is the most common thing.
That's weird.
Yeah.
Dusk.
Yeah, around dusk. I don't want to hang my hat on that, but I'm pretty sure that was right. John Keel always said the Wednesdays was the day that had the most paranormal activity happening for some reason.
Really? Is that like the 3 a.m. the ghosts come out thing?
Yeah, I don't know what it is. It's just like a correlation of all the stories and data that he picked up. He just noticed that Wednesday was the most common day.
Wednesdays, man.
Yeah,
I'm nervous now.
I don't know what it means.
Dude, I'm already nervous to go in the woods with my kids because of David Politis. Now Wednesdays are going to freak me out.
Yeah, but how many people go hiking on a
Stay
Wednesday?
vigilant.
Everyone's there on the weekend. Maybe there's too many people for a portal to open.
Well, so that's
on the weekends.
That's one of the big things in Missing 411 is there's always a point of separation. Politis talks about where if you're with a group, before someone goes missing, there's always a point where they split off from the rest of the group, and it's that moment that is kind of seals their fate, where they, will eventually run into a situation where they are never found again. And it's like, it's never for one specific reason that they kind of break off from the group. It's, it could be anything, but for whatever reason, because they're all of a sudden by themselves, they're either
targets.
They become a target, or I don't know. Maybe I don't know what it is.
Interesting. I never want to go in the woods alone.
No.
I used to run by myself all the time. My dad's like, "Don't wear headphones in the woods. You need to be alert." I'm like, "Yeah, whatever, Dad." But now I'm never going to wear my headphones. I'm going to run right into a portal. I'll be like, "Where am I?"
That's my biggest nightmare, is like suddenly just being somewhere else. That's worse than like a UFO or like a horrible ghost experience. That's my number one fear, just snapping into it. That's why the Missing 411 stuff is so fascinating. I want to find out what Skinwalker Ranch, where that is, and how'd you find out what was on what? I just typed in Skinwalker Ranch granite, and I can't find anything.
Utah. I think it's southern Utah.
Let me do this, Josh.
Yeah, you seem you're the best at science in this podcast.
I know
that's interesting. If that place is granite, this is the connection between all of them, right? So, missing people, and David Politis brought to the forefront that granite somehow is associated with missing people. What if all these hot spots, it's granite or sandstone? You know what I mean? We're taking it one farther. And hot spots aren't just missing people, right? There's like things coming through and out. So maybe granite has something to do that connects missing people with like paranormal hotspots. I'm really interested. Do you guys know
where Skinwalker Ranch
Utah.
is? Utah.
It's southern Utah, yeah.
Southern Utah is in Uintah County.
Oh, the Uinta County, Uinta Basin.
Wow.
Is also,
Well, he used to live there.
So if you check out Skinwalker Ranch, interestingly, is owned by Bigelow. He's the billionaire in the aerospace industry.
He's huge.
He's huge. Well, anyways, what's interesting about this is the reason why that's even more credible to me now is because of the revelations of ATIP. That he was in cahoots with Harry Reid and Luis Elizondo, who started ATIP. Harry Reid did. He funded it as a senator. And then Bigelow owned Skinwalker Ranch. They used his facilities and stuff for some of the research and materials they found through the ATIP process. So, why would a billionaire buy Skinwalker Ranch? I don't think you just buy it like, oh, that seems fun. I saw a documentary on it. There must be something really going on there. And I'm reading a book that, Matt, you gave me about Skinwalker Ranch. It's the confessions of a dude who used to work there. And it's awesome. It's like everything I want in my life. Walking around, see blue lights, hear weird noise. Oh, my God, it's a were-dog. It's a dog man. Sorry, dog man. I got to get on that.
Yeah. It's Robert Bigelow, by the way.
I just think you should follow. Sometimes these super rich people, and we touched on this in the last podcast, too, that you got to pay attention to what they're doing. It's not all just eccentric craziness. Think about it. This guy was a part of the program that now is probably going to be the beginning of disclosure for the world, UFO disclosure. And he owns this ranch where a bunch of weird shit's happening. So it's not just wingbat stuff. Like Skinwalker Ranch, I didn't believe in. I would see like a terrible like documentary cover and I'd be like, oh, that can't be real. And now that I'm all in, reading this book, and it's so much more credible now that I know that Robert Bigelow is connected to ATIP and he owns this ranch. That is so interesting and telling.
Yeah.
Anyways.
So this is remind me again, this is the Skinwalker Ranch book. Not the Hunt for Skinwalker that George Knapp did, but this is the one where it talks about a security guard hired to walk the premises of Skinwalker Ranch.
Lost at Skinwalker Ranch is the personal story of a security guard who worked there for a while.
Because I know they have problems with, it's such a big name, Skinwalker Ranch. Now they have problems with people going up there all the time trying to, see crazy shit. So they have a team of security personnel who they hire in. They're usually ex-military and stuff. And they bring them into the ranch and they basically just do the rounds. But it's also what that book alleges, and we don't know for sure, if it's like the legit, but it's told from the point of view that this is a real story, because it's the author is relaying a story from one of these security guards. Is that correct?
Yeah, basically.
Yeah.
I haven't read it.
It's pretty authentic because it's not written.
I found it pretty fascinating.
Yeah.
I mean, I love stories
authentic.
like that, but
No, me too.
But everybody knows a bunch of weird stuff goes on there. So it's not like this guy is alone claiming that he's the only person that saw weird stuff. People pay a lot of money to go there and say they saw weird stuff. Uinta Mountains, is that how you say the county?
Uinta, yep.
Uinta is made of quartzite, slate, and shale.
Okay.
So there is quartz. Quartzite is sandstone converted into quartzite through heating and pressure, usually related to tectonic compression within the belts.
So it's all kinds of rocks. Let's just say
sandstone.
I'm going to go out on a
Sandstone.
ledge and say rocks are bad. Stay away from rocks. Just in general.
Rocks are amazing. You just have to know how to use them.
Well, I bet you can find the same compounds in Mount Shasta, the
Knowledge
Bridgewater
is power.
Triangle. Like, it feels like we came out.
Have you guys been to Mount Shasta?
No, I haven't. My brother
I
has.
haven't. I want to.
Amazing. But has there been any missing 411 in Mount Shasta?
Yes, actually, that's a big part of the
Wow.
History Channel Vanished documentary.
Yeah.
Is he documents a guy who hiked up with a group of people
On Mount Shasta?
on Mount Shasta. I think it was an older guy. He was with a group of people. Am I thinking of the right one? Maybe. Yeah, they camped.
Yeah, they went to Mount Shasta as well. Someone disappeared.
Yeah,
and
they camped at sort of a campsite that was close to the top, and he got up early and decided to get out ahead of his team. They weren't ready yet, so he kind of started marching up the hill. And they said where he was heading and where he was going was easily visible from where this campground was. Not campground, but the campsite was. Heading up the hill, so they should have been able to see him. But as they were packing their stuff up, they I think they kept looking up to see him or something. It's been a while since I've seen the documentary, but anyway, at some point they look up and he's just not there anymore. And they follow him and see if they can hunt him down. And they just
Do you know
don't-
what
they don't find
elevation
any
they were
trace.
On the mountain?
I mean, it was towards the peak. I think it was snow-covered tips. I vaguely remember this. Maybe
It was right below that. It was above tree line, so it was all rocks.
It was,
and,
yeah.
Whatever that
It was
term
above tree
is, where
line.
it's all the rocks everywhere.
Yep.
And the eyesight was like, you can't disappear. It's either you fell into a
Right.
hole, which there wasn't, or you didn't.
Right. Yeah.
Which was really the most interesting part about that was not in the show Vanish, because that's in the show Vanish for History Channel, is David Paulides when he goes and explains that to the woman whose husband disappeared. So the guy that disappeared, he goes, he's like, so I think it was portals.
He literally says that?
Yeah.
Which
It's awkward.
I
it's
feel like
awkward,
if
but I'm
that-
glad he did, because he's been like avoiding an explanation for years, even though he was a Bigfoot researcher for a long time. He's been avoiding
Are you
saying
talking about
anything.
David Paulides?
David Paulides.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
he's really big on never ever trying to suggest, any sort of cause or whatever. For
I
it, but-
would have slapped somebody if my husband was missing and they said, I think it was portals. I would have
Yeah.
lost my mind.
Would you though? 20 years later, when
20
every
20 years later?
reasonable-
No.
Yeah,
No.
this wasn't like
No.
a fresh case. So like,
Okay. Okay.
No, I know what you're saying. Of course you would. Of course, I would too. That's why I think it's ridiculous.